At Miami International Airport, shipments arrive from around the world, some ordinary, others suspicious. One package, fresh off a flight from the U.S. Virgin Islands, immediately raised red flags. CBP officers ran the box through an X-ray machine. The image showed unusual density inside. They carefully opened it and found something unexpected. A round cake, frosted and sealed tight. It looked and smelled like dessert. But under that sweet layer was something bitter. They cut deeper. Hidden inside the frosting was a brick. A white powder spilled out cocaine. Whoever smuggled this wasn't just bold. They were creative, and they didn't stop at one. More boxes revealed more cakes. Each one hiding narcotics, each marked with a specific emblem identifying the drug trafficking organization behind the scheme. 4 kilos in total. Each kilo worth between $28,000 to $30,000 on the street. And this was just the beginning. Agents decided to go forward with a controlled delivery. No real cocaine would be used. The cakes were remade using store-bought sheet cake, carefully crafted by undercover agents to look like the real thing. The mission? Deliver the packages, monitor who receives them, and uncover the network behind it all. Meanwhile, another team at the airport was busy targeting inbound international flights, especially one from Milan, Italy, known for its high-end shopping and undeclared luxury goods. Travelers were asked if they had anything to declare. Most claimed no, but officers have seen this play out too many times. One woman returning from Milan swore she had bought nothing. Yet, in her luggage, a Chanel purse, receipts for luxury items totaling over $4,000, and designer clothes. When confronted, she shifted her story. The penalty for failing to declare, over $11,000. But in her case, officers showed discretion. She paid the customs duty $235 and was let go with a warning. A lesson learned, maybe. Elsewhere, at the airport's warehouse facility, officers were inspecting in-transit mail packages not staying in the U.S., but passing through en route to other countries. Today's target was mail bound for the Dominican Republic. A seemingly normal package, a mechanical pump, looked suspicious. The density wasn't right. Another odd item, a musical drum headed for Chile. Something about the inside looked off. Both packages were flagged. They would go to the lab for further inspection. At the same time, the team handling the cake sting was preparing to make their move. The Cakes Now dummy packages were loaded up and brought to the destination address in Miami. It was a second-floor apartment in a residential complex. The undercover officer approached the door, knocked. A man opened it. He confirmed the name on the label matched his. The delivery was made. But what he did next made everyone watching lean in. He picked up both boxes and walked them straight to his car, a silver Mercedes parked in the driveway. He wasn't wasting time. He started the engine and drove off. CBP and HSI teams followed closely, waiting to see where the trail would lead. As the Mercedes pulled away from the apartment complex, agents stayed close. This wasn't just surveillance. It was a chess match. Every turn could reveal a move from a seasoned smuggler or from someone just following orders. But the driver's behavior set off alarms immediately. He rolled through a stop sign, sped up, slowed down, took quick turns. He wasn't just going somewhere. He was checking for tails. A classic heat check. Then he pulled into a nearby post office. Officers watched from a distance, wondering, was he about to ship the packages off, hand them off, or claim he never knew what was inside? The suspect walked in with both cake boxes and emerged minutes later, empty-handed. He had mailed them. The cakes, originally intercepted from the Virgin Islands, were now in transit again, this time to Georgia. CBP now had a lead. The destination was no longer Miami, and the suspect wasn't the final receiver, just a middleman in a much larger network. While Atlanta agents prepared to pick up the trail, CBP returned to the airport floor, continuing to inspect incoming travelers. One woman claimed she was just bringing back a few t-shirts, but in her luggage were high-end handbags, jewelry, and thousands in luxury purchases. Another nothing-to-declare lie. Another opportunity to catch someone cutting corners. Meanwhile, back at the warehouse, the team turned their attention to the flagged musical drum and mechanical part from earlier. Both items were cut open at the lab. Inside, one packed tightly under the rim of the drum was white powder. It wasn't resin. It wasn't glue. The test confirmed the substance. Cocaine hydrochloride. The other package, a metal cylinder. Looked like a solid mechanical part, but officers noticed the rod didn't go all the way through. Something was off. They drilled into the metal. White powder again. More cocaine. But this smuggling job was even smarter. The cylinder was lined with lead, designed to block X-rays. It nearly worked, almost. But the officers, smarter and experienced. They pulled out multiple bricks, each weighing in at over a kilo. Hidden within a fake part, lined with radiation-blocking metal. It was a high-level job, a serious attempt at evading detection, but it failed. And on the international market, especially in Europe, that kind of cocaine fetches triple the U.S. street price. This bust didn't just take drugs off the street. It dented someone's empire. As the cake case continued unfolding across state lines, back at Miami International Airport, another drama was in motion, this time involving currency. CBP agents stopped a passenger from South Korea, arriving on a flight from Seoul. When asked how much cash he was carrying, the man casually answered, $350. That's $350. But his bags told a different story. Tucked inside his belongings were 8 cashier's checks, totaling $136,800 US. That's a far cry from $350. When questioned, the passenger claimed he forgot they were there. That explanation didn't fly. You forgot you were carrying over $100,000. One officer asked. The man shrugged. Yeah, mistake. In cases like this, CBP doesn't just worry about undeclared cash. The bigger questions are, where's it from? What's it for? Is it tied to drug smuggling, human trafficking, money laundering? The man insisted the money was clean. He said it was his, that he planned to deposit it in a U.S. bank. Just business. But his vague answers, inconsistent story, and failure to declare made officers suspicious. In accordance with federal law, the checks were seized on the spot. The passenger wasn't arrested, but if he wanted the money back, he'd have to prove its origin, and prove it wasn't tied to any illegal activity. Meanwhile, on the streets of Miami, another operation was heating up. Agents had tracked the cake courier shipment to a trap house, a location known for dealing drugs but not for living in Tay. A surveillance team had it under watch. The area was dangerous, with known gang activity and reports of weapons on site. When the takedown came, it was swift and surgical. Special response teams breached the fortified perimeter. Inside, one subject was caught trying to flee through the back, vaulting over fences. He didn't get far. In the house, agents found loaded firearms, cash bundles, and crack cocaine. Thousands in street drugs were now off the market. The operation had moved fast, from cakes to cash to cocaine, across cities and states. But this was the payoff. For the agents, this wasn't just a bust. It was a win in an ongoing war, and it wasn't over yet. With one operation wrapped, CBP officers barely had time to catch their breath before the next wave hit, this time in the form of yet another strange item flagged by X-ray. A metal cylinder, shipped from the Dominican Republic to Brussels, raised eyebrows at the inspection line. It looked solid at first, like a standard machine part. But the density inside, uneven. The rod, suspiciously short. A perfect hiding place. As the tech team carefully cut it open, powder spilled out, fine white and unmistakably out of place. Lab results confirmed it. Cocaine hydrochloride again. The smugglers had lined the aluminum cylinder with lead, the same trick used in the drum earlier, making it difficult for X-rays to penetrate. It almost worked, but almost doesn't cut it with CBP. They pulled out several kilos, each one representing tens of thousands of dollars in street value. But more importantly, it meant less poison on the street, fewer overdoses, and fewer profits for cartels. And then the story looped back to the cake. Remember that middleman who tried to mail the cakes forward from the post office? He thought he'd covered his tracks. He hadn't. Agents followed the package all the way to Georgia. The trap was reset. A controlled delivery was planned. The undercover team prepped their cake, a flawless replica made of store-bought sheet cake and handmade touches. The operation was on T, just about getting a conviction. It was about understanding how the trafficking pipeline operated. The cake was delivered to a suburban home. Within minutes, the packages were moved into a Mercedes. And again, the suspect drove off. This time, he wasn't just driving. He was speeding, blowing through stop signs, cutting corners, drawing even more attention. Then, suddenly, he bailed. The car screeched to a halt. He jumped out, cakes in hand, and ran toward another house. But the team was ready. Officers swarmed. He was taken down before he could disappear again. In the car, aside from the cakes, officers found a loaded Glock 17, 9mm. The threat was very real. He hadn't just been transporting drugs. He'd been prepared to defend them, if needed. This wasn't some small-time runner. This was someone embedded in the system. Someone trusted to move product and armed to protect it. Back at the airport, inspections continued because, while big operations made headlines, it was the everyday screenings that kept most threats at bay. One woman, returning from overseas, claimed she hadn't bought a thing. No souvenirs, no gifts, nothing. Her bags, however, told a different story. Tucked inside were 2 designer Chanel bags and luxury items worth over $11,000. When asked again, she hesitated, then admitted, yes, she had made some purchases, but didn't realize she had to declare them. That wasn't true. CBP officers deal with travelers who try to skirt import tax laws every day. Luxury items are subject to high tariffs depending on material and value. Travelers are required by law to declare them. In this case, the woman had lied outright. That meant a penalty of $11,000 could legally be imposed. But the officer used discretion instead of the full fine. She was only charged a $235 duty. The warning was clear. Do it again, and you won't get another break. Elsewhere in the facility, officers were scanning international mail shipments. One drum headed to Chile seemed fine at first. But a small irregularity in the thickness raised suspicions. A drill hole revealed nothing illegal, just resin. A false alarm. It happens. For every big hit, there are a dozen dead ends. But when one hits, it matters. Then came another twist in the cake case. The man who had picked up the packages, the one who had run, been tackled and arrested, had connections. The address the cakes were headed to in Georgia wasn't random. CBP coordinated with HSI agents in Atlanta to trace the chain. The goal: identify everyone tied to the operation, from runners to handlers and possibly the source. It was a tangled web: cakes from the Virgin Islands, runners in Miami, and shipments to Georgia. But each connection brought them closer to the head of the snake. And, as if things weren't layered enough, yet another major seizure happened just hours later. A South Korean passenger who had declared only $350 was caught with over $136,000 in cashier's checks, tucked neatly in his luggage. He claimed it was all a mistake, that he forgot the checks were there. But nobody forgets that kind of money. Now the burden was on him to prove the money's origin, the purpose, and the legality. Until then, the entire amount was seized. It became one of the largest inbound currency seizures of the year. The South Korean man sat stunned in the interview room. He insisted he had forgotten the checks. They were just there. Part of his wallet for years, he claimed. But CBP doesn't deal in forgetfulness. The law is clear. Any amount over $10,000 must be declared. Whether it's in cash or cashier's checks, failure to report it means potential money laundering or tax evasion. The total $136,800. That wasn't an oversight. That was a risk, and he lost. Still, the officers weren't cold. He was told exactly what came next. Prove where the money came from. Show account records. Show a clean purpose. If he could, he might get the funds back. Not, they were gone. And that wasn't the end of the day. Agents turned their attention to the Mercedes seized during the cake sting. Inside, they found more than frosting. Tucked under a seat were stacks of cash, $5,000 bundles clearly marked. A total of $8,400, just under the reporting threshold. But that didn't make it clean. Investigators needed to know where it came from. Was it part of the cake delivery payment or proceeds from past sales? They also found a Glock 17, 9mm, loaded and ready to fire. No doubt now, the man wasn't just a courier. He was prepared to fight for what he was moving. With that, a search of his residence was greenlit. Officers hoped to find evidence of trafficking. More money, more drugs, more weapons, or links to larger distribution networks. As they swept the house, the subject remained silent. But silence doesn't stop a warrant. The cake might have been fake this time, but it told a very real story. A dangerous active supply chain with smuggling routes across islands, states, and countries. And the agencies involved. They were connecting the dots. The Miami team was already working with federal prosecutors and Atlanta agents, trying to turn this arrest into a full case that could take down the bigger players, the ones who never touch product, but pull every string. As the dust settled on the Miami sting, investigators turned to the bigger picture. The cake delivery, the loaded Glock, the intercepted drum from Chile, and even the Korean currency seizure. None of these were isolated events. They were all bricks in a larger wall of illicit trafficking threatening to slip through borders daily. In the Georgia case, the package intercepted from Miami arrived as expected. Surveillance teams had eyes on the location. But the real target was signee, just the person who signed for the box. It was whoever sent it, whoever stood to profit from it. Just like peeling an onion, each layer revealed another name, another address, another phone number. These investigations don't end with a single arrest. They expand outward, often into international operations, with cartel fingerprints found in everything from hollowed-out car parts to cake frosting. Back in Miami, another item flagged CBP's attention, a metal cylinder arriving from the Dominican Republic headed for Brussels. On the X-ray, it looked dense, too dense. When officers examined it further, they realized the rod inside wasn't solid. It had a fake tip. The moment the cap came off, a familiar smell hit the room. Cocaine. But the traffickers had been clever. They de-lined the inside of the aluminum cylinder with lead, trying to shield it from X-ray penetration. It almost worked. Almost. With that final twist of the wrist, the tube revealed bricks of cocaine hydrochloride, expertly packed to the brim. Had it made it to Europe, the street value would have tripled. But it didn't, because this time the team was one step ahead. Each seizure might only be a dent. But for the officers on the ground, every package intercepted, every lie uncovered, every ounce of drugs kept off the street. It all adds up. They don't stop, because traffickers don't either. Whether it's cakes or cashier's checks, fake drums, or forgotten declarations, smugglers will always try something new. But so will the people chasing them. The game keeps evolving. But for now, at least, they won. If you found this story insightful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. From hidden narcotics to undercover busts, we'll keep bringing you the real stories from the front lines of smuggling investigations. Stay tuned, there's more to come.